Hi, it's Searching Sabbath, and this week brings us to Seventh-day Adventist fundamental belief number 27. Remember, there used to be only 27, but another one got added partway through, so we have one more week to go to get through all of these. And we're coming up not just to the close of this set of doctrines, but to the close of human history, as the last couple of doctrinal statements project what we as Adventists believe will happen at the end of the world. And as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, because the word Advent means the second coming of Christ and is at the heart of our name, obviously this is an important doctrine for Adventists. This week is about the millennium and the end of sin. Now, there's a lot of theology around millennialism and whether churches are premillennial or postmillennial. There's a lot there to get into. I'm just going to try to present to you the Adventist belief and then raise a couple of the questions that I have about it. Seventh-day Adventists believe the millennium is the 1,000-year reign of Christ and his saints in heaven between the first and second resurrections. During this time, the wicked dead will be judged, the earth will be utterly desolate, without living human inhabitants, but occupied by Satan and his angels. At its close, Christ with his saints in the holy city will descend from heaven to earth. The unrighteous dead will then be resurrected, and with Satan and his angels will surround the city, but fire from God will consume them and cleanse the earth. The universe will thus be freed of sin and sinners forever. I don't think any other church that I know of has the exact same teaching about eschatology, about end-time things that Adventists do. I know everyone has a somewhat different take on this sort of thing. Our concept of the millennium is not of a 1,000-year reign of peace on earth, but rather in heaven, where the earth is, as the text says, desolate. And that's leaving aside the very interesting question, by the way, of where and what exactly heaven is and what we mean when we say heaven. That's probably too big to get into right here and now. But like a lot of the rest of what's in here, it's largely in the realm of, I don't want to say science fiction, but certainly speculation. Clearly now this does have a biblical basis. And if you go through this chapter in Seventh-day Adventist Belief, you can see that everything is supported with a proof text. A lot of this weighs very heavily on certain readings of Revelation 20, 21, and 22, which are very key chapters for this understanding. But to me, this has always seemed like one of these Adventist doctrines that you wouldn't conclude for yourself from reading the texts unless someone had guided you towards that particular reading. And that's what I think is problematic about it. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with the story that's portrayed here, that there's a resurrection of the righteous dead and the righteous living, those who are wicked at Christ's coming, and again, we're leaving aside the very interesting question of what we mean by righteous and wicked. But those who are wicked at Christ's coming are slain by the glory of his coming. Everyone on earth except the devil himself is dead during those 1,000 years. Everyone else is off enjoying themselves in heaven. And the return of the holy city to earth is the stage for a final uprising of the wicked who are raised from the dead, judged, and then consumed by fire. Personally, I think the whole idea of resurrecting people just to consume them by fire again is getting a little bit hellish, and I think it's a little bit of a stretch of the reading of Revelation, as I said, 20, 21, 22, where a lot of this is taken from. On the other hand, I love the fact that Adventism affirms that the ultimate home of the inhabitants of earth will be the earth, made new, glorified, and perfected. It gives the lie to that idea that we are aliens and strangers here. We are of this earth, we are created for it to enjoy it, and the earth itself is good. Fallen in sin, but good, and eventually the whole creation to be redeemed just as humanity is redeemed. I think that's a beautiful idea. And I like that, as I said, it doesn't end with eternal torture. There certainly are some texts about the lake of fire that can be read that way, but taken in the entire context of the scriptures and in the idea of conditional immortality that we looked at last week, it certainly seems more in keeping with the teaching of the whole scriptures that everyone who does not choose to live under God's rule will be dead as the mortal creatures that they are at the end of this. But Adventists can get very hung up on the specifics of this and in believing that it's going to happen exactly as we lay it out. I really think we need to leave a lot more room for mystery, a lot more room for saying, wow, Revelation is a complex book with a lot of symbolism. Here's one way the ultimate fate of human history might play out, but let's leave open the fact that we could be wrong about a lot of this. I mean, for a denomination whose roots were in misunderstanding Bible prophecy and claiming that an event was going to happen on a date when it did not, I think we ought to be a little more humble. I think there ought to be more of a sense of, you know, here's how we understand it, but ultimately it's up to God. God is the Savior, God is the Redeemer, we trust Him, but we don't have to have a point-by-point blueprint of exactly how it will work out. And sometimes I'm uncomfortable with the fact that when we talk about these things like the millennium and the final judgment and that we're getting a little too close to doing that, to saying we know exactly how everything's going to play out. And I think that's more than human beings know or can know or need to know.